Hey, it's me, Vicky Marie. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in this crazy world we're living in. Really is crazy, isn't it? Anyway, there's a few cases that we're covering, aren't we, of manhunts. We've got the case of Desi Freeman in Australia, who's on the run. We've got the case of Travis Decker in America, who is also on the run after murdering his three children. Desi, of course, he murdered two police officers who went to arrest him for essay offences, historic essay offences. And you think, where can these people be? Why does it take so long to find them? And what I'm going to tell you about is another case that's just been resolved. And this case started in 2021. That's when Tom Phillips went on the run. So we're in, 4 years ago, he went on the run with his children. And he's been on the run ever since. And his children, he was 38 in December 2021, and his children were ages 12, 10 and 9. He did not have legal custody of his children, and the disappearance apparently happened as a result of a dispute with the children's mother. He went on the run, and since then there's been sightings of him, especially on CCTV cameras, etc. So all these years he's kept those children on the run with him. And this is in New Zealand, in the bush in New Zealand. I mean, just so selfish to do that, to take your children away from their mother and put them on the run as well with you and involve them in bank robberies, etc., put their lives in danger for all sorts of reasons. I mean, it's one of those stories that if you didn't know that it actually was true, you won't be able to believe it. So anyway, it's come to an end. 1,358 days in the bush, and Tom Phillips is no more. The police, he tried to kill a policeman and the police shot him. He is deceased. And, so the children have lost their father, but, you've got to think, what sort of a father was he? So this is Tom, Jada, his daughter, Ember, and Maverick. So he left his campsite, wherever it was. He was camping. You cannot believe that somebody could live with children in the bush for all this time without being caught, can you? Anyway, he left his campsite in the early hours of Monday morning with one of his children, intending to carry out another burglary. So he took one of his children to commit this burglary. And the day would end with Phillips dead and his children's 1,358 days in the bush coming to an end. So it all began with an early morning call from a member of the public. About 2:30 on Monday morning, the police received a call from a Piopio resident to say they believed they were witnessing a burglary in action at PGG Wrightson. Now, I have absolutely no idea of New Zealand geography. So, maybe we should have a look. Let's have a look. Piopio, New Zealand. So for whatever reason, he'd chosen to do, where can't have been camping all that time. They must sometimes have stayed in hotels maybe or things like that. Do you think? They can't have been on the run all this time. So let's have a look at the Google. Well, it looks quite deserted, doesn't it? But most of New Zealand is, of course. Piopio, this is where it's happened. Of course, New Zealand got famous because it's where the Lord of the Rings was filmed, Peter Jackson's Lord of the Rings. So, it's a very small country, not far that away from Australia. And Piopio is in this part. And I'm sorry if I am ignorant about geography of New Zealand. And that's where it is. Gosh, this man's been on the run and he's armed. So it's quite scary, isn't it? Or it has been quite scary. It's unbelievable that they haven't been able to catch him till now. But anyway, he's caught now. So there was more. So apparently the burglary involved two people on a quad bike dressed in farm clothing and wearing headlamps. Look, here's the CCTV. And it had only been 12 days since fugitive Tom Phillips and one of his children were caught on camera in relation to a burglary at the POS Superette. And that footage matched the description provided by the caller on Monday morning. Now, I don't know much about this case, but I do remember, I don't know if it was about a year ago, it could have been longer, there was a sighting of them wandering through the bush as well, a CCTV snapshot of them wandering around the bush. So I do remember that, and I remember thinking then, how can this be? How can a man survive out in the bush with 3 children? What sort of life is that for them, and why? Anyway, I remember thinking that at the time. So knowing that the information we had previously had that Tom Phillips had seen also in this area, additional staff were called out and responded to that location. Deputy Police Commissioner Jill Rogers would later tell the media. A quad bike was seen leaving the area along the Waipuna Road, a gravel road that intersects with Te Anga Road, the main road leading back to Maricopa. Now, if you're in New Zealand, and I know I have some viewers in New Zealand, you'll know perhaps a little bit more about those areas. In what Rogers would call officer intuition, a constable, realising that if Phillips was heading back to Maricopa, that would be his route of choice, he decided to lay road spikes at the intersection about 3:20 a.m. And the quad bike, it's amazing, really. Anyone could have gone over those spikes. The quad bike then ran over the spikes, with the bike coming to rest a short time later. And the constable, who was first on the scene, came across the bike and was confronted by gunfire at close range and was shot in the head multiple times. He was getting out of the vehicle and has fallen to the ground. He's taken cover back in the vehicle, Rogers said. And this is her Deputy Police Commissioner, Jill Rogers. A second patrol car then arrived and engaged Phillips, who was shot and died at the scene. One of Phillips's children was then taken into custody, uninjured. How traumatic for that child to see her father being shot as well. The officer was then flown to Waikato Hospital by the Westpac Rescue in a critical condition. Once he arrived in hospital, he was conscious and was able to speak to some of his colleagues. Well, this is a miracle that this policeman has survived, because I think he was shot in the head. Didn't they say he'd been shot in the head? Yeah, shot in the head multiple times. Absolute miracle that he's still alive. Asked on Wednesday afternoon why the police officer was on his own at the time he was shot, Rogers said staff up and down the country work in such rural remote locations. He knew that he had support coming, and when you're travelling these roads at night, I can tell you they are completely dark. What he came across this morning in the early hours would have been completely unexpected. Under close inspection of the quad bike, police found multiple firearms, one of which was a high-powered rifle that had been used to shoot the officer. Oh my God. In her first briefing on Wednesday about 11 a.m, Rogers said police were making urgent inquiries to locate Phillips's other children, who they had serious concerns for. And the child who was in custody was cooperating with police, she said. Rogers said that the number one priority, as it had been for 4 years, was to find the child's siblings. This has been the outcome that no one wanted today, and so we ask that anyone that may be helping or has information that may help to locate these children, provides it so we can resolve this incident swiftly. So imagine these children had been left behind in the bush at a campsite while he took the oldest child to commit this burglary. I mean, the selfishness of this man. The officer, they were just out in the outback, out in the bush. You know, anything could have happened to them. The officer in charge of the investigation into the missing children, Detective Senior Sergeant Andy Saunders, then briefly spoke to the media. It's mixed emotions, he said when he asked how he was feeling. This is devastating. It's not the outcome we wanted, but we've got one child out safely. And our focus is now about finding the other children and getting them out safely. And this is Detective Senior Sergeant Andy Saunders. Then around 3:30 p.m. on Monday, Rogers held a second press conference. I can confirm we're still searching for the children of Tom Phillips. We have not located them at this stage. Our primary focus is to reunite those children and extract them as soon as possible from where they may be today, she began. With the events that have unfolded today, this must come to a conclusion now. She said that police believed the children were unaccompanied in the bush and there was only about 3 hours of daylight left. Police had about 50 staff searching the bush, including Special Tactics Group and the Armed Defenders Squad. The Eagle helicopter could also be heard flying overhead as she addressed the media. And Rogers said the child who had been found was cooperative in providing information. That poor child, probably so relieved. That has allowed us to identify an area of activity that we will be examining through the afternoon and into the evening if required. She also provided an update on the injured officer who had suffered significant injuries, but which had been described as survivable. He had undergone the first of many surgeries and was back in for surgery on injuries to his eye. He would remain in Waikato Hospital for some time to come, she said. The conference ended with Rogers telling the media, if we know anything during the evening, we'll provide those updates to you. And then, miraculously, and thank you God, and my heart just goes out for these children, they've been found. Almost an hour after a second media briefing of the day, journalists were advised of a third press conference regarding the critical incident. At 5:50 p.m., she said she could now say with great relief that about 4:30 p.m., police located Phillips's remaining children at a campsite further up Tianga Road. The children are well and uninjured, and they will be taken to location this evening for medical checks. She said the children were by themselves at a very remote campsite. This selfish man, selfish, horrible man. It's taken our staff some time to walk into it this morning, following information that we were provided earlier in the day. Rogers said that information provided by one of Phillips's children earlier in the morning was crucial in narrowing our search boundaries. We've come across them in an area that we were identified as being a probable location in which we could find them, and we've had communication with them, and we've safely engaged with them, and now they're with our police officers. So you don't know what he told those children, if the police come, do this, do that. He might have even left them with a gun. This man is not, there's nothing below this man, is it? He's taken his children on the run for 4 years. He's left them unattended in the bush. He's gone off with one of them, taken them to help him commit his burglaries. And that where, their mother, then they would be wanting to see their mother. So this is the scene on Tianga Road, Waikato, where he was fatally shot. And asked how the children would be cared for, Rogers said they would receive medical examinations and police would work closely with Oranga Tamariki She acknowledged the people on the ground on Monday and those who'd been part of the difficult and taxing investigation for 4 years. Several investigations were now underway, including a critical incident investigation, and the IPCA had been notified. She thanked those who went to the police in the early hours of the morning. Thank God those people contacted the police. We're grateful for the information we received from the public this morning that supported our officers in their initial event as it unfolded. These are small, rural, tight-knit communities. They look after our people, and we're very grateful for the support that they've provided. But this man, he was a risk to everybody, wasn't he? But 4 years. Now, let's hope the other manhunts that, gosh, this just gives me the chills, this, thinking that he's got his daughter to, put her in danger like that. Unbelievable. And the other 2 children just left in the bush on their own. A horrible man. I mean, it's their father, and it must have been very traumatic for the girl to watch her father be shot. But then, first of all, watch him shooting the policeman, and then watch him be shot and killed. This poor girl, so traumatic. Honestly, my heart is, I'm just so sad for them. So these other manhunts that we're following, let's hope they don't go on for 4 years, hey? Travis Decker and Desi Freeman in 2 other countries, Australia and America. How could you do that to your children? Take them away from their mother and take them on the run and involve them in crimes? And there he is with guns. How did those children feel? What sort of life did they have for 4 years? What a piece of shit. Sorry, I wasn't going to swear. I'm always trying not to swear, but, you just look at these people. This man, just a horrible man. Anyway, I don't know if it's, he should have been, it's a shame he couldn't have been brought to justice, but you know what? The police had to deal with him in that way. He'd already, tried to kill them. Shooting that man, although the policeman in the head several times, that's a miracle that policeman is still alive. So, he took the decision out of the police's hands, really. It was just, they couldn't take a chance, could they? It would have been better if he would have been brought back to face justice. What gets into these people's heads? I know it must be awful if there's a custody dispute. You're not getting to see your children, but you have to take it through the courts, don't you? You have to. You can't take your children, on the run, in the bush. It's just not fair to do that. To them, it's not fair. If you love them, if you love the children, you're doing that for you. You're not doing that for the children's sake. He didn't take those children away for the sake of the children. He took them away because he's a narcissist. He couldn't bear. He wanted to be in control. And he took them away from their mother, and not only from their mother, but just generally society and a normal life that all children are entitled to. Anyway, I thought I'd just come on and tell you about that. I thought it was intriguing. I mean, it is, there's definitely going to be a film made out of that one day. It's just like these poor children, I hope they're back with their mum now and, they're okay and safe and they're being looked after. And it will be, at the end of the day, they have lost their father and they will feel that. Anyway, as always, let me know what you think in comments. What do you think of this? What to me is just a POS. Because anyone who would do that to their children, they're not a good father, are they? You're taking them away like that from everything that they knew, from all normal life, and making them live in the bush because he wanted to be in control. I'll see you really soon in the next video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe for more videos like this. And until I see you again, as always, May your God go with you. Thank you.